Welcome in, Frostburg State fans, and we are pleased to welcome back head coach Peter Letourneau as our head women's volleyball coach. And coach, first off, glad to have you back here at Frostburg. And second off, what kind of drove the decision to want to come back to FSU and lead the program once again that you took to some pretty good heights?
Yeah, I think there's some nostalgia for the records we had in the past and the teams we were able to compile here at Frostburg State. I think the biggest driver to the decision is the university's push into Division II and the leadership that's here on campus within the department and across the campus wide. So I feel like there's a lot of pluses in place and a lot of things to grow with.
There is obviously a bit of a difference between when you first coached here and now coming back with our transition to Division II. Some of the things that we've been able to upgrade with our facilities and basically the capability of the athletes that we're bringing in. What are your, sort of hopes or expectations for trying to build this team back up to being a contender, not just in the MEC, but also in the region where program hasn't had a winning record since 2017 and try to get our foot into the conference and into the region as a whole?
Well, I mean, our region is challenging, and the MEC's got some pretty good volleyball teams at the top of the conference for sure. I think looking at it, kind of building a roster, I think there's an untapped resource of Maryland, the DC suburbs of Maryland, the Northern Virginia suburbs of DC, where there's lots of good high school and club volleyball players who really aren't finding their way north into Division II that I think we could try to tap into and bring them up here and kind of elevate the talent base of the athletes on the roster and their overall exposure to volleyball at a higher level before they even come to college.
You've had the chance to meet some of the players and watch a couple of the spring matches and, just kind of get to learn who you're going to be working with. What are some of the qualities that you've been able to see that, how helpful it can be to get that early step in and get to work kind of early going into the fall?
Yeah, so I wasn't here that long before the semester broke, but I did certainly get a chance to get to know the girls and spend some time with them in the gym and watch them compete. And, there's a core of, I think, talent that's here and a high level of motivation among the team to kind of reach the next tier of performance and maybe get to a spot where they're not just making the playoffs, but in a position where they could win playoff matches, after the regular season.
Looking into the schedule, and every volleyball coach will tell you how valuable the early season tournaments are. You get to see so many teams and figure some stuff out with the amount of matches that you play early on. Then you get into conference season. We talked about some of the talent that's in the MEC. With looking at that schedule, and where would you kind of hope to be or sort of see yourself of what would make a successful season? You mentioned making the playoffs and try to, put a stamp on in those playoffs, maybe from a developmental level or seeing where the program could be in the next couple of years in this first year.
Yeah, I think there's a challenge to put some systems in place and to get a baseline of understanding of what we're talking about in practice and then having that transfer into what's happening in matches. And, we spend a little bit of time doing that this spring. But really, when we come back into preseason, it's going to kind of be square one with the girls and incoming freshmen. And I think blending the new kids in with the returning players will be a priority early in the season. And then trying to get a firm understanding of what we're trying to do as a group and, who's able to contribute in which roles as we move through the season.
Well, Coach, certainly thank you for taking the time to come and talk to us today. We're excited to welcome you back here to Frostburg for some of the fans that might remember you from your first stint and welcome in the new fans that might not know who you are yet, but hopefully will here in the next couple of years.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, as always, we appreciate Coach Letourneau for coming on, and thank you for tuning in. Go Bobcats.